wish that we could start here at the Arts Centre and we'll travel far and wide.
First of all, I want to thank Mary for inviting me to have the show. It's being an artist and not only trying to make a living, but even trying to make sense of your journey can be challenging at times, as some of my friends in the room will attest by my behavior. But to meet people who actually not only understand the art and love the art, but also have an understanding of the process that you go through when you're making the art and showing support and an occasional shoulder to lean on is really, really important, and Mary's really wonderful at that. You're very lucky to have her as a curator. Yay! So in terms of trying to describe what the work's about, what I thought I'd do is come up with something that all of you have basically had happen in your lives, and you'll understand it. And it has to do with an experience that I had last summer when some friends came down from Whitehorse, really good friends. She brought a friend who was visiting from Vancouver. I said, what do you guys want to do this evening? They said, you take us someplace that's special to you. So I made up some pasta. A friend had given me a bottle of dandelion wine. And we drove down to Warm Bay Campground. For those of you that have visited Atlin, there's a beautiful little gravel beach there. And we just sat there. It was one of those, I think it was August 20th, August 25th. Just stunningly beautiful, warm day. One of the days when you just kind of stop and look around. So we were sitting there, maybe 3 hours talking, sometimes not talking. And right at the end of the evening, there was this beautiful ambient glow in the sky. The mountain was lit up, lake was stunning, and the three of us just went silent for like about 30 seconds. And then Anna was sitting there and she just went, perfect. What I've kind of been trying to do the last 35 years is not, although I painted those scenes for decades, what I'm trying to capture is whatever that little quiet moment is when you're just completely transfixed by this place up here. And whether you're sitting on a beach, or you've been in a canoe, or you're sitting on a mountain ridge, you've all had that happen to you, where you're either by yourself or you're with somebody else. And the beauty of nature just kind of takes you away. My journey as a painter, and I'm trying to capture it. I've ended up, well, I talked to a reporter yesterday. She said, so what are you going to do next? And I said, I don't really know. I'll start on Monday, but I'm not really sure where they're going to go. And I described it as like this movie that just keeps unfolding in front of you. You're not sure where it's going, but it's always exciting, always really interesting. As that journey has gone on for me over the last 35 years, the work has gotten more and more minimal. Part of that has to do with the painters I've studied, paintings I've seen, especially one in New York at the Metropolitan by a painter named Milton Avery, which was done on Long Island in New York, but it was just 3 masses of color, but I automatically thought the Tombstone Valley. That's how it hit me, and I thought that was maybe a way you could do it here. That winter I was painting in Colorado, and I went outside. The little path in front of the little ranch house I was renting had blown over and drifted, and this is basically what I saw in a little 3 or 4 foot stretch of path. All of these are gathered from this little narrow area of a windblown path. At the same time, I had a book on Matisse drawings, and this is drawings of nudes. And those, I saw those in the path. There were all these beautiful arcing natural curves that painters struggled for decades to actually learn how to do. And Matisse did it beautifully, and nature doesn't even try to do it. It's just there all the time. So that was, I talked to Mary a little bit about the show, and all of those things just kind of, as I was standing there in the wind, it just all kind of locked together, and I could see all these by about 2 o'clock that day. And then it took about 5 or 6 years for them to all kind of happen. So I'm drawn to minimalism in work because for me it's a more powerful way to actually convey that basic feeling I was trying to express to you, that the mountains are beautiful, ridges are beautiful, cloud banks are really beautiful, but it's something about just the quality and the essence of the light up here that is transcendent. And I seem to be on a journey where I'm slowly closing in, and probably the next show in 10 years, if I have another one, it'll probably be down to about maybe 2 square inches of someplace. But it's all about, no matter how much I love abstraction, no matter how much I love minimalism, and my brother in Los Angeles twisted my arm to go on Facebook about 2.5 years and was introduced to minimalist painters. These painters are a really big hit in Zagreb. There's a whole group of painters I've been talking with over the last week that they love this type of stuff. And yeah, I think in the catalog that I presented to Mary, I said it's like a Japanese, if you go into a Japanese stone garden, the sheer beauty of the simplicity of it, you can sit with for a lifetime, and I'm trying to do that. So I appreciate you coming to the show.
So I have a question. Thank you for your artwork, and thank you for sharing. What time, and it's about light, so it's a couple of questions. What time of year did you paint this work?
I started, I was working on a bunch of other stuff. I started painting these. One of them was painted about 2 years ago, and a lot of the studies for these were done over the last 2 years. But it was actually, I had a visitor around Labor Day, and I think 2 days after Labor Day, which would have been around September 8th, I painted every day until I took Christmas Day off and slept. And then every other day up until a week ago I was working.
And could you describe the lighting in your studio? And the reason for this is you've really captured a quality of light. I'm just wondering, how does the artist work? What environment were you working in? What lighting?
The ideal light for working for a painter is north light, if you can have it. And that gives you kind of a flat, neutral light. And I noticed in smaller canvas, it's a flat, neutral light. You're not subject, if it's sunny to the south, it doesn't do that. And I also have a couple of avant-garde skylights I built into the roof. When I needed more light, we just get the chainsaw out. Covered one day, literally covered the easel and the paint table with sheets, and got the skylight out.
So is the majority of this work done under natural light rather than?
It's under natural light, but the way that I paint it has actually really changed. For those of you that know some of the older work, in a lot of it, it was kind of built-up paint. I would sometimes work on paintings for years. In these, I saw a show on color field painting in Denver, Colorado about 5 years ago, and a lot of these massive canvases by a painter named Mark Rothko, when you stick your nose right in it, you can see that the paint was actually running down the canvas. So a lot of these are actually done with rags for probably the first 80%. And I mix the oil color like I always did, and then I mix it with oil and a couple of mediums, and I shake it up in little canning jars, and then I buy surgical gloves from the Shoppers Drug Mart and just dip, and you just kind of rub it in, and it's probably the equivalent of watercolor painting to some degree. But as a result of working on large canvases, I started painting at night, and I've kind of figured out a way to do that. If the colors are mixed, I need natural light to judge the colors, and sometimes I'll just do a little teeny maquette, maybe that size. And once I know the colors are right, then I can flick on the lights. And then a lot of these I was working till 1 or 2 in the morning on them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Almost seems like something you can't see is there, like the UV. It's like the UV filter is off and you're somehow sensing it. Do you think about UV at all when you're doing it?
Not really, no.
I've always wondered what UV might look like. Maybe that's it.
Well, I think a lot of I was lucky when I was younger. I traveled quite a bit and saw paintings, and the painter Turner in England did that a lot. A lot of it was just built up glazes of color, and I'm still kind of learning to do it, but it's more immediate. I love the old, it's not laborious, but it's almost like a Zen meditation you go into. I was telling Mike that painting there, the shadow area there, was actually 4 8-hour days. Basically, you go into, Joyce is smiling because she knows. You basically just go into a zone in the morning and you go for 8 to 10 hours and just slowly work your way across. It's kind of a dragging technique, and I will probably still employ that on occasion, but like some of these, especially this area here, if you look really close, and that one, more so on this one, you can actually see that there's 5 or 6 colors that are actually layered here. So you start dark, layer it on really, really thin, and then the other color, you don't quite pour it on, you rub it on, and then you lift, and then you actually paint into it. And on quite a few of these, was actually bare hands too. Sometimes the rubber gloves, you don't quite get the quality you want, so. Basically, you descend back to being a 5-year-old.
Well, grand. Well, I think we'll turn into the next galleries and we'll see Louis and Jackie. But Don is around, so make sure if you've got questions for him, he's here. Come and accost.
Yeah.